Hey, everybody. You know, sometimes the Brewery Underground Podcast, well, we leave our homes and we go on the road. And for the first time in 2025, as we're deep into the year already, right, guys?
We're on the road, baby.
We're on the road. Scott Touron. Good to see you sitting right next to me today instead of seeing you through like...
That's right. You're way better looking in person, by the way. Let me just tell you.
Hey, thank you very much. I take anything, any compliments I can get, I will take them. So, man, we are at Marble Fox Brewing here in the Gulch section of Nashville. Introduce our guest here, my friend.
We have got John Eibl Jr. with us, part owner and head brewer of Marble Fox Brewing Company. And thank you for having us, man. This is awesome.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, this is cool, man.
For inviting me to be on.
We've been wanting to get you guys on for a while.
This is my first podcast.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We'll see how,
Well, shit. We'll have to have many more of these then. You'll be like a regular.
Maybe. We'll see if they,
We'll see if it works
see
out.
if they like my voice. See if it works out.
You'll never have that guy on again.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how things work out today for you. But I'm sure things are.
Oh yeah,
great.
dude. It's just dudes sitting around talking about beer.
Let's talk
Something
about
you
beer.
know a lot about because it's your beer.
I know something about
You
beer.
know, yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit about brewing beer, right?
A little bit.
Speaking of which, how did you get started in the beer business? Or not even the beer business, just started brewing beer. Did you home brew?
Yeah. So actually, it all started. All right. So I went to college at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, and they were big on, I don't know if they had a contract or what, but you could go into a liquor store and find Keystone Light,
Yeah.
a 30-pack, for like $11.99.
That's
You
right.
could buy a keg for like $58.
Right.
It was great price, right?
Yes.
For college students.
Right. Quantity over quality kind of thing.
And I did. I partaked in some Keystone Light, but what really caught my attention to beer was I was at a frat party, and one of the frat brothers was walking around with an amber bottle, and he was an old. I was young, and he was an older frat brother, I guess, and he's like, "Hey, try this beer. It's not like Keystone." And I said, "All right," and I tried it. I was like, "Oh, this is like so different, so good." I turned around, it was a Sam Adams IPA.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom, light bulb went off. I'm like, I gotta start drinking this.
Yeah.
I'm done with Keystone.
The life-changing event, wasn't it?
If I'm playing beer pong, whatever. Okay, I'll drink some Keystone.
Yeah.
But I need to start, I need to switch. My taste buds have since evolved, right?
Yeah.
So that pretty much started me being a beer connoisseur. That's the day where I was like, all right, I've upped my game. I think I was like 21, 22. Maybe I was 20. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. No.
We're not telling anybody.
I'm sure you were
I
21.
can't remember exactly. But yeah, so ever since, and then that got me started down the craft beer road, but my pocketbook couldn't really handle it, so I had to kind of steer back, going
Right.
to the cheap beer.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? What if I just made my own, and I could do what I want. I could put as many hops. I can come up with my own recipes.
Yeah.
That kind of started my creative avenue. And the first beer I brewed by myself, was with those like $60 homebrew kits. You get the plastic jug, and
Yeah.
you get your mom's pot, and you just start going. You start reading books and be like, all right, what is mashing? What's a water?
Yeah.
Stuff I had no idea. I'm just a kid, right? I'm reading books and just having a good time. One of the first books I bought as well was Sam. I don't know what's his last name. Caglione from Dogfish Head.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had a homebrewer's book that I just ripped apart, man. It was amazing. To this day, I still reference it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got different spices, fruits, all sorts of that he experimented with when he was a home brewer.
Okay. That's cool as
So,
hell.
yeah, it was the introduction to home brewing, and then his book, The Dogfish Head.
That's a good one to learn from, isn't it? That guy.
Oh, the best in the bit.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I think I cracked open a 90-minute IPA the other day. I was like, I haven't had one of them in like probably 6 months. I was like, this is so good.
It is
Like,
good.
they still continue to make
Yep.
great beer. I'm ever impressed with Dogfish Head, and I think they do it right.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
And
they're
they
killer.
experiment
Yep.
with a lot of different.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of great beer, we have some of them in front of us that you probably brewed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
I think this is the Blended Illusion Blackberry. Did I get the name right?
Blended Illusion Blackberry.
Blackberry. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice fresh pour. It's got a really cool color to it too.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Cheers, fellas.
I've got the signature lager.
All right. Yeah, I love the signature lager.
Oh, it's good.
It's really good.
So the Blended Illusion is a series that we do
Okay.
that we just kind of change up the fruit. I call it a sorbet IPA just because I don't put any lactose in it. I don't pump it with too much fruit. I just kind of want that, that nice touch.
Yeah, it is. It's not over sweet by any means. You still can pick up the IPA. I kind of get it in the back of my throat.
A little bitterness on the finish.
Yeah.
Kinda leaves you wanting a little bit more.
That's good. And it's not, when you think sorbet, you might think thick. This isn't that either.
Yeah.
This is a nice viscosity to it. It's a beautiful color.
It is.
It's
It really
delicious.
is.
Yeah. Now, you said you've got the strawberry banana in a can.
I've got strawberry banana in a can. I've got raspberry in a can. And we switch out the kegs all the time. So we'll have blackberry on, we'll have a raspberry, and our newest one is the strawberry banana. So
Okay.
that was just parked in the cooler waiting to be put on tap.
Wait for me to bring it home, too, because I'm taking cans of that home. Because there were pictures taken. I assume Armando took those pictures? Yeah. And I was like, the pictures are like, that makes you want to get the beer.
Yeah.
It's just,
He does. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of our pictures. Like
Yep.
when we released the no crust, the one he did with like the monster peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, the ooey gooey.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, man, that's awesome. So
After he took those pictures, I go, what did you do with that sandwich afterwards? Because it looks like you want to eat it afterwards. And he was like, yeah, it was. I had my hands on it 8,000 times, but yeah, it was a wonderful picture.
it was awesome.
Uh-huh.
He's been taking on, and then like all the backdrops that he does
Yeah.
for us on Tennessee. Yeah. So
Yeah, he's doing great. He's a good buddy of
curious,
ours.
and I'm curious about all of those that kind of beer that you're talking about, because it seems like PB&J No Crust with you guys, other breweries, that's become a real popular trending beer. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a nostalgic thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it brings you back to summer camp, opening that paper bag and chewing on a mom-made peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
Right? I think. I mean, what do they always say? Like peanut butter and jelly, like it goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Like,
Yep.
That's like that is the flavor.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of things better than that combination.
Do you think
Yeah,
that's like a trend beer right now, or could, like 5 years from now, you still see very different variations that are out there popular that people are going to want?
Beer is fickle, right? Like you're gonna have trends, but I think peanut butter and jelly is always gonna stay in some sort of variation. So you can do it. You've done it in styles. We're not the first brewery to do a peanut butter and jelly beer. We won't be the last to do it.
Not at all. No.
When we try to do beer, we try to do it our way, and we try to do it as good as we can.
Yep.
So I don't think it's gonna fall. I think there might be some sort of, I don't know, like I think it's going to have its time. It's got its moment, but it's still going to linger around for forever.
Especially
it's a common flavor, and you can do it in a stout, you can do it in a blonde, you can make a seltzer out of it. It doesn't matter. You can do anything with those flavors.
And you can do, like you guys have done, different jellies, right? You've done, right? You can do, people can do raspberry, whatever the thing is, strawberry. So you got those variations you can do too at the same time, which can make it live a lot longer.
Yeah, yes. And every fruit, right? Like grape jelly is like your classic flavor, but it's not the best jelly flavor, right? I'm a raspberry jelly guy. Sure. So like, give me that raspberry PBJ any day of the week. So to what you said, what you just said is you can come out with different jelly flavors, and I think people will keep it alive and keep buying it.
Yeah. And I think, Steve, you could probably attest to this too. I've had several different PB&Js just from different, if you see one, kind of get one kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's probably 3 that are really good. I'd put yours, Zool's, and Southern Chris.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking anybody else. Those 3 right up here. For any other one, I can't remember another one I've had, honestly. You know what I mean? Because those are like, man, those are the ones. Those are the really good ones that we really enjoy.
And honestly, when I'm designing a beer, I buy other people's beer to get inspirational. You know, like I had the Zool, I had the Southern Chris, I had the Tailgate, and I was kind of like, how can I formulate it my way? And, you know, I do that for every beer.
Yeah.
Whether it's the signature lager, it's a hazy IPA, I don't care. I'm going to buy everyone else's beer, taste it, and then I kind of can formulate how I want to interpret the flavors, how I want the people to interpret the flavors. And I think that's a difficult part of the job, is are people's taste buds going to line up with your taste buds and how you interpret the flavor, right?
Yeah. And you're going to put the Marble Fox stamp on it too, right? It's going to be the way you do it, so it's going to have that Marble Fox feel or taste or something along those lines. That you know, this is ours. You know, I'm not copying anybody. We're doing it our way.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're not the first to do it. We won't be the last to do it.
Yeah.
I just did it my way.
Yeah.
In a way that I think people would enjoy it. So.
When you're brewing your beer, are you like the mad scientist in there trying to figure out what are they going to come up for next?
All the time. All the time. We're always playing around, you know, constantly figuring tea. You know, some things like sometimes we take a beer and we experiment with, you know, we'll take the blonde or whatever because it's a pretty simple beer, so we'll experiment with flavors that way. Or if we want to do something with a stout, we'll just microdose it and kind of get it to where we like it.
Yeah.
Or we might just be like, oh, this sucks. Like, we're throwing it out. Throw it out the door. Maybe we'll revisit again when we have a better idea. So
that's how you come up with new stuff. You just got to experiment with things, and not everything makes it, right?
Not everything.
Right.
Yeah, not everything makes it. You know, a lot of this, like what, you know, you look at cocktails that people drink, you look at different foods, desserts that people, and you try to pull inspiration from that. You try to, I mean, what are other breweries doing, right? Like they do the same thing. Like they're trying to figure out what's nostalgic, what's desserty, right? So.
Yeah, finding inspiration in other things. And we've heard this before, too. Like, foods is a good thing. I would have never thought about that. When we talked to Dark Shadow early on, they were like, we get inspiration from, like, walking down the grocery store aisle. And like, oh, that might make a good beer. You know, just something, some kind of flavor.
Yeah, I kind of wonder sometimes if maybe you're just sitting in your house and you're watching television and all of a sudden just an idea, Food Network. I mean, seriously, can you give me an example of something that all of a sudden you're watching the Food Network and you're like, boom, I think that might make for a great beer or beer style.
I think our mint stout that we did the other day. They were doing a competition on cookies, and they had like a dark chocolate cupcake with mint cream filling. And I was like, oh man, we should do a mint stout. You know, just so
yes.
We did it. We just did a really small batch. Like it came and went like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, last time I saw you, I had just missed it in here. Yeah.
So I mean, that's one example.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, you know, when you're drinking different beers and you're going, maybe I'd like, you know, say it's a cream ale, and then all of a sudden you're going, you know what? Wonder what this would taste like if it was a stout or a fruited sour. Does that ever go into your mind? Does it like drive you crazy at times where you're going, maybe I should have tried this a different variation?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. So, another example on the just things. I had a blood orange ginger beer, and I was like, oh, I need to do that. And it was around Halloween, so I think we did. It was called Cursed Citrus, and again, it was one of those, it was small batch. We did just a half keg of it.
Yeah.
Where we did, you know, we ground up ginger and put it into like a seltzer base and added some blood orange puree to it, a little bit of lime, and it like came out perfect. I was like, that's exactly what I was. This is what I imagined. So
it's got to be. I'm sorry, I was gonna say that's got to be a really good feeling though. Hey, it came out the way I imagined, and like, all right, shit, all that work and the planning and whatnot.
Yeah, that's. when you can do that and mix it in just small batches, and then you can kind of gauge too. Like the mint went really fast and we got good feedback, so it might be something that we bring back for stout season next year.
Yeah.
We did a Mexican hot chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
those are really popular.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna keep continuing to experiment with
definitely
little batches.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a couple times now your signature lager. I had that last year. I looked on my Untapped app and I had it August of last year.
Yeah.
And I rated it on Untapped. A really good beer. I loved it. And
good, yeah.
It seems like we talked so much on the podcast about lagers and how much they've changed. What do you think about that?
I think you can do lagers so many different ways.
Yeah.
New styles are constantly coming out, right? You got the New Zealand lager, you got, but a classic lager, which this is, just always hits the right spot. And brewed with no cutting corners, processes are sound.
Yep.
I think you can produce a really good beer that way. And just like over at Brewery, man, all their lagers are fantastic. You guys know that.
They're very good.
Yeah, they're using great ingredients and their processes are sound. Not that we're trying to copy that or anything,
right? But
sure, just doing our We've seen here that light beer, lagers, pilsners sell better than anything at Marble Fox. In the can, hazy IPAs are flying out the door.
Really?
It's totally opposite. So it's like we have to have lagers here. We have to do them well. But then on the flip side, when you're talking about distro and doing hazy IPAs, flying out the door. So it's like you gotta do both. You gotta, when we brewed our Mexican lager last summer, Zorro, I had to keep rebrewing it because it was just constantly flying out the door. Yeah.
But you got to feel great about that, knowing that people are buying it. You're like, we've got a winner here. I mean, you go home at night and you're the satisfaction.
Yeah, and I when I brew something, I always try to put my own little twist on it.
Yep.
Right. The only thing I've really done, I guess, per style, I guess I would say, where like you use those ingredients, territorial ingredients was probably my Czech beers. So the Czech Pilsner that I have on tap now, and then we did a dark Czech lager, which is probably my favorite beer that I've ever brewed. Came out exactly how I wanted it. To me, it came out perfect.
It's a great beer. I've had it many times.
The Midnight Charmer?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, man. It's still to this day my favorite beer I've ever brewed.
Nice.
So, but those are really the only two beers that I've said, all right, I have to use Czech sauce.
Yeah.
So everything else, I put my own little spin on it. Like our Mexican lager, it's not typically I'm not doing the traditional. Like I put mochileka in there, which kind of gives that lime. A little wakatu in there, which gives a little bit of lime and citrus, and but still made it light and crushable. And I think people throw a lime in there. Oh,
nice.
It's better than Corona.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's better than Corona. I bet it is.
And I bet with the hotter it is, probably the better that even sells, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I would think. I mean, it probably sells all year, but man, just when it's 95 degrees, that's a great beer.
It's a crusher.
Mm-hmm.
Before we were recording, and Scott was busy getting us some beer for this podcast, you and I were having a pretty cool discussion, and I asked you, what did you do before you started brewing? And you told me that you were a pharmacist. So this is totally different than how. So talk about that. I mean, is there parallels from being a pharmacist to brewing?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have a really good grasp on the science of brewing.
Yeah, I would think.
Brewing is a lot. Like there's math. If you want to be good at it, there's math involved. There's science involved.
You're creating your own recipes too, so you've got to factor those in.
Yeah. So there's a lot of science. Engineers I feel like can be really good brewers as well. Like if you're able to solve simple problems through mathematics or science, it helps.
Yeah.
But brewing itself is hard work.
Yeah.
Right? It's 1% all that stuff. 99% cleaning and making sure you don't blow your head off.
Like because it's ultimately the most important thing too. That equipment has to be clean, or else you've lost everything you've made.
Everything, yeah. Yeah. And we've lost one beer to an infection. It was one of our first beers that we brewed, but we figured it out quickly. And haven't made that. That's the other thing. Don't repeat your mistakes.
Yeah.
Do not repeat your mistakes. That will kill me.
How much of your time would you say during the week you spent brewing versus trying to figure out what do I want to brew?
Well, luckily I have Brewing back there that helps me brew and does a lot. He's been absolutely instrumental from the beginning. He had a lot of brewing experience, a lot of processes that he knew, and we've just worked together to figure it out. Sorry, I forgot the question though.
Basically the time you spend brewing during the week versus maybe trying to come up with different recipes and things like that.
Recipe development takes a lot of time, takes a lot of research, because you have to constantly experiment, right? And then it's the act of writing it depends what I'm doing. I have a pretty good grasp of our IPAs, but every IPA I do is different. I don't know if you pick that up when you're drinking our IPAs, but I don't use the same yeast all the time. I don't use the same hops all the time. I don't use the same malt bill all the time. I don't use the same salts all the time. I experiment a lot.
Yeah.
So I think when you split the day up, I think I do. I put in a good half of my, I would say more time, research, development of recipes than actual brewing. Because I have Brewing who can do all that.
Yeah.
And we work together to build recipes. We taste together. We experiment together. So I don't know. I think having an extra set of hands really helps me, and helps me focus on creating the experimental beers that I want to do.
Yeah.
That Brewing wants to do, honestly.
Yeah, because you still have to stay ahead, right? You have to stay ahead as, and this is what we're going to be making next, or you're going to make a seasonal or something for the fall. Like, you've got to be ahead on that, so
Definitely.
you got time to make it.
Yeah, and we're trying. I mean, we try to release a new hazy IPA so people don't get bored. You know, we have our staples like Pirouette, Smile
Oh
Lines,
my God, Pirouettes! Oh Jesus!
Box. Those are kind of like our staple beers, but we also try to come out with something new at least once a month. So I'm sure that will pick up once we get all of our equipment up online. But like Maisie, that's a really special beer to me. So yeah, it's just when you finally dial something in, you're like, man, this beer totally slaps. I'm so happy with this beer. And that's what Maisie did for me. I was like, oh, I think I figured out like some secret code.
But that's the payoff, right? You put the work into it, and you've made it. All right, now I've tweaked it or whatever along the way, and then you get this payoff, and you're like, yes, that's got to be one of the best parts of being a brewer, I would think. That's like, I hit on what I wanted to hit on.
Yeah, or people just coming up to me like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I can still remember the first time I had Pirouette, because it hit me in the face. And I was like, this is amazing. It was at the Two Rivers Mansion Beer Fest a couple of years ago, and I saw you guys out there, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. It was so good. And you guys still have it on tap, and it's one of the best beers I've ever had.
It's our top-selling beer.
I could see why.
Which is funny, because it's, I don't know, like it's. I think it's really good, but I think we've had better beers since then. It's just for us, it's one of the cheaper beers that we can put out at a good cost to the consumer.
Okay.
So that's why I think it's
Oh, it's wonderful.
Or like our other, like the newer beers that we're coming out with, like it's just punch full of hops, punch different yeast. Like it's just like more expensive this, more expensive that.
Yeah.
So then you have to. So that's why when you like go to New York or whatever, and you see like $22 IPAs, like I get it, right? It's like because I know what they're doing. Like they're just punching it full of hot material.
Yeah, because they're just putting so much into it. Yeah, that's how they got to get it back out.
But people like it, and I think it does make. There's this thing out there that says like you can only do like 2.5 2.5 pounds per barrel. Otherwise, you don't get any return. And I think that's false. I think you can punch it.
Yeah.
You can keep punching it as expensive as you want to punch it.
That's it.
But there has to be a return on that investment. Right?
Somebody's got to be buying that shit, or else it's not worth it.
Yeah. So,
For a brewery, now you guys in June, you're going to come up on 2 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
I know. I have that written down. I was like, I think that's right.
Yeah.
2 years. Does it seem like it's almost 2 years, or does it seem longer than that?
So last year when it was 1 year, it didn't feel like 1 year. I was
Yeah.
like, oh. Kind of. I think I got little gray hairs.
Yeah.
Wait till you get like this.
What's funny because we came before your grand opening. I think you guys had some kind of soft open. You were open a little bit, and then when you came up on your 1 year, I was like, it's only been a year, because it just seemed like you guys had been around, because we'd been so often too, and it was like, it's only a year. It's like you guys made an impact immediately in this town.
And we know, we've talked to so many other breweries, and you know this, obviously, being in the brewery business, that things are evolving. They're always constantly changing.
Yeah.
But being that you are fairly new, do you have a good gauge on that, as far as like, well, this is the way it was 5 years ago, but you're new, so
yeah.
Are you used to that warp speed at this point?
Yeah, we are constantly looking at things all the time. And that's where we kind of shifted our focus. Like, we only had our first 2 beers on tap were the Blonde and Signature Lager. I had no idea that they would be our most popular beers sold in the tap room, right? And then when we started self-distilling and we had a little single canning line, then I didn't realize that the hazies were just gonna fly off the shelf, and I'd have to it was hard to keep up.
Yeah.
So, but for the brewing industry, yeah, I mean, I think lagers are coming back. I think just cleaner, lighter beers are coming back. At least drinking wise, I think the pale ale is going to come back.
Yeah. I've been amazed and pleasantly surprised when I've been at breweries, whether it's here and other places, that you start drinking lagers and maybe they look up and they're like, that's 4.2%, and I get it, and I'm going, well, this ain't your daddy's lager.
Yep. They're good. I mean, people are producing really good beers.
And like you talked about earlier, when you make them, it's like you can't hide behind anything on those. They're harder to make, right? Even though they're cleaner. I guess they take longer, don't they?
People always say that, like, IPAs are easy to make. I don't think they are. I think there's a lot that goes in. Like I said, I'm always tweaking my IPAs because I think I can do them better. And I think we are evolving and making better beers. I think even Pirouette has gotten better since we've improved our processes. So I think good beer is process driven.
Yeah, no doubt.
IPAs process driven for sure, but I think also ingredient driven. A lot of these breweries are able to get their first pick. Being a first-year-old brewery, like, we don't contract our hops, and we're trying to buy everything we can on the spot market. And that sometimes has an effect on us, because I might have a lot number. I open up the bag and it smells like, it doesn't smell like how I want it to smell, right? So I have to be like, okay, now I got to think of another beer that I can put this into the hot side. Like, I can't use this.
Yeah.
I order a new lot from a different place. Hopefully I get something good.
Yeah.
So we've run into things like that where maybe our ingredients might not be as good as, what other half or Zool's getting or whatever, Beard Iris, whatever. Like, they probably have contracts where they go and do sensory testing, and they can pick their lot and they get that lot for the whole year.
Yeah.
We don't have that yet.
So that shows your creativity when you get something like that. Okay, I can't use it for this thing. I've got to use it in something. Let me find a place to go put it. That's cool. I mean, you can find a place for it. Does that sometimes create a new beer out of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just got to. Yeah.
Like,
okay, well,
I'm like, I got to figure out how to do this.
I bought it. I own it now.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal Scott's thunder here, but we were talking about canning earlier.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Like, the canning that is really going on with Marble Fox is incredible.
Yeah, I want to ask you, because last time I was here, and you were talking about, you guys had bought a canning line, and you guys were about 95% of it put together, and you kind of tweak it and stuff. And are you there yet?
No, we're not there yet. So yeah, we bought a new canning line, new to us canning line. So it's an older canning line, probably 6-7 years old. And when it got shipped to us, it already had 1 million cans on it. So
okay.
After it got shipped to us, there's little things that we had to replace on it. But as you can only do one step at a time, right? Like you look at the fill, then you go to the motor and the seamer,
Right.
So you start working your way down the line and like, okay, this part doesn't work. I got to order it. It takes a week, right? And then you fix it, and then you start going down the line. Okay, this part doesn't work. Got to order it. It takes a week.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle, but
yeah.
Brew is working on it. We're both working on it. We've got everything, I think, ready.
Okay, cool.
The only problem now is our labeler. So this one's an old labeler. So the canning line's new, but the labeler is really old.
Okay.
So we had to buy an upgraded kit because it didn't fit our labels because we have the 16-ounce cans. But it's like because it's so old, all the ports are on back order for like.
Of course they are.
4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, of course
so
they
we're just
are.
kind of waiting around. And, getting behind on all of our cans.
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing back there. We got Shane Rogers in the house. I don't know what he was showing his phone. I don't know what he was doing.
I know. I was at Cool Springs Wine and Spirits a few months ago and saw a bunch of your cans.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, do you have like a set number? Does it vary? How many cans of different variations you like to have out there available for people?
Well, we have 5 brands that we continuously brew. We've got Blonde, maybe 6. We've got Southern Blonde, Signature Lager, Pirouette, Smile Lines, Vox, and the Method.
Like your core canned beers?
That's our core can. And we release our 10-barrel batches of any other beer that we do. We do just single batches, and then we release them out. When we were self-distilling, it was really easy to really get to know the owners of these liquor stores.
Yeah.
Get some build shelf space. But since in October we switched over to Det Reyes, so we do have a distributor now.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because we've grown accounts. I think we have like 30 tap handles in Nashville, and we're at like 25 or 30 liquor stores. And I think we've quadrupled our tap handles already and doubled our liquor stores.
When did you guys start canning? Was it right away or?
No, it was probably 4 months into business.
Okay.
We bought a little single canner. Like it was like a seamer and filler in a box.
Yeah.
Right. It was super small, fit on a little table like this, and it was a pain in the butt. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
We wasted probably more beer than
it's not efficient.
It was not efficient, and no matter how much we played with it, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
We ended
up calling a company like a mobile canning line.
Yeah.
When we started growing, once people knew we had cans, it pretty much took off, right? So people were buying cans out, to go. We were trying to fill liquor stores, so we went from canning 3 barrels of beer to 15, from 15 to 30, 30 to 40.
Wow.
Right? So that's like per month.
Yeah.
Right? So and my dad was doing all the delivering, and we hit a crossroads where it's like, all right, do we go with a distributor, or do we buy a truck? Do we hire a driver? How reliable is that? Are we still going to be able to grow at a speed, or did we kind of hit with our sales team, meaning me and my dad?
Yeah.
Like, did we hit like our growth? Like, can we grow faster if we got a distributor? So we had to make that decision. We started just venturing out, talking to distributors, and we landed on Det Reyes. So far in 2 months, like I just told you, like we've quadrupled what we've been doing.
That's great. And that's one less thing you guys have got to do, right? Or worry about. You can focus on making beer or whatever else you're doing, marketing or anything. Like you can just focus on that. You're not driving it to a place to get there trying to sell the beer. That's what you hire them for.
Yeah, and for us, it's kind of advertising too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gets our logo into more places.
Yep.
People are curious about Marble Fox. Maybe the logo looks cool. They like it. They come in and visit us, right? They buy our beer when they see it on the liquor store shelves. So I think there's definitely benefits to getting out with a distributor rather than growing at our pace.
Now the thing you got to do is if they keep growing your sale, you got to make more beer now.
Yes. Yeah. So then there goes the canning line. Like, we're kind of stuck. So again, we have a mobile canner that comes in the meantime that really helps us get beer out. But the problem with that is, you have to fill the tanks, then you have a lull period, and then you empty the tanks, and then you got to clean the tanks. Like if you have a canning line, you can continuously turn over beer.
Yeah.
Over tanks.
Yeah.
You could
fill, empty, clean, then refill. Like you can do it at your own speed and probably faster.
Yeah. Do you have it, not to put you on the spot, do you have like an ETA when I know you'd like to already have it going, obviously, but
I think the canning line is done.
Yeah.
So canning line is done.
Okay.
The labeling.
Just the labeling.
So
I gotcha.
And that's important.
Yeah. You gotta that's important.
We're about 4 weeks out to getting that part.
Okay.
But
you can put everything in a can, you can break it, you get it in the can, we just gotta know what it is.
Correct.
The thing I love is you guys have already in such a short period of time become such a great success story. And you gotta love the fact that as you talk about your canning, I'm sure there has to be a couple times a week at least when people come in here and say, I had your can of beer, I was in Franklin, I walked into this beer store or somewhere else, and now I'm here.
We'll have people coming from Mount Juliet that say, I had this at Providence, I had to check you guys out, I loved it.
Yep.
I'm back, and then they'll taste Maisie, like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. Like, where can I find it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, nowhere probably. Like,
you come here, just come here.
Yeah. It sells out. I mean, we've these the newer IPAs we've been doing, like the Permanent Record, the Maisie, they've been selling pretty quickly. Just out the door here. Like, so we're kind of holding them back and not even putting them out in the distro. Or I think we do. I think we put like 2 barrels worth out in the distro, just to, like, give the liquor stores like a case, or each liquor store a case, basically. Like, so people can find it. They don't have to come in.
Yeah. They're out. I went to the liquor store and they're out. I guess. You can go probably get it at the brewery. Go down there and get it.
So, Scott, we've gotten through this far at a podcast. We haven't asked the obvious question, but I'm sure you get a lot.
What?
Where did the name Marble Fox come from?
Yeah, we get that all the time.
Yeah.
Where did the name come from? So the name is kind of, sort of a family name.
Mm-hmm.
My great-grandfather, my dad's great-grandfather, had a brewery. He was straight from Germany, opened a brewery up in Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Called Foxhead. Had a beer called Foxhead 400. If you Google it, you'll see the old aluminum pop cans that he had. So,
have any of those cans from way back when?
You can find them on eBay.
I was going to say, like, do you as a family? You kept? Okay. Like your dad, anybody kept them? Okay.
Actually, I think my grandpa does. Have some, opened up cans that they kept, but.
Sure.
It's cool. Like, you've got it's a really good write-up on your website about that story and your great-great-grandfather being a part of it and, like, being in the business already. And it's a good read. I would tell anybody to go. It's in the About section, and it's a really good read. And we've got a kind of a beer buddy in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we were doing research for this, and I reached out to him. I go, have you ever heard of this brand from back in the day or just being around? And he goes, yeah, I think so. Kind of people have talked about it. So it's just like.
Yeah, Foxhead. Well, the funny story is when he died, he didn't have really an heir to kind of pass it to. So it just got sold many times throughout history, and I think it ended up in the hands of like a money laundering for Chicago mob.
Get out of here.
That's pretty much how it ended.
That's cool.
But the history's still there. I think the building that they brewed out of is still there, which leads me to Marble Fox, right? When I was searching for names for my brewery, it was obvious, right? Foxhead.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Well, some guy trademarked. He had he bought the trademark for it. So I couldn't couldn't do it.
Yeah.
When they founded this brewery in the late 1800s, and you look back then of what they were doing compared to here in 2025, are there any parallels other than the fact that it's just beer? Anything that stands out?
Oh yeah, I mean we're talking open fermentations, like it's totally different. I mean they're taking water straight from the stream or the river. Yeah, spring. They host it like from Waukesha Spring water.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like filtered city water.
Directly from the stream, sediment and all.
Yeah, so their processes were different. What's this?
Oh yeah.
Would you guys try?
Is this yours?
It's a sampler.
It is his.
Oh wow, what have we got here?
Beer.
Shane just brought us a sampler of 4 here.
Okay.
Shane's bringing me beer.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you brought this beer to us, so why would I not bring this? That is the barrel-aged Imperial Stout.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. This is the Ghost Town. This is yours. This is the.
It's in my barrel.
Yeah.
It is definitely their beer.
Yeah.
John did a great job with brewing it, and
So we're gonna.
Do we know what we're calling this one yet?
Below as above.
What is it?
Below
As above. Ah.
So this is an Imperial Stout. No adjunctless. All we did was we brewed it, got the yeast out, threw it in Shane's 1792 barrel.
Was that what it was?
Put it back
1792.
in.
Nice.
Aged on 14 months in that barrel. We threw it back in the tank. I think it's carved up. I'm not sure.
Cheers, everybody.
Nice. Yeah, get a picture. Let me get a picture of
There you
that.
go. Gotta get some pictures.
Say pop your pop your head in there.
All
just
right.
a bit. Here, get a better one. Don't want to cover up.
There you go. Ready?
Brewery Underground Podcast. We're taking pictures.
Ready? Yeah. We got pictures for the podcast.
All right. It's good stuff.
Thanks, Shane.
So
What do you think they would say? Not they, but like that era making beer, that there'd ever be a peanut butter and jelly beer. Can you imagine? They wouldn't even think of anything like that.
I mean, how many styles at that point were there in the 1800s?
I know.
You know, like it was all
Like a lager or a pilsner or something.
Lagers, pilsners,
Yep.
probably Kolsch, I would assume. Dark beer, Guinness, I'm sure.
Yep.
So yeah, beer has evolved.
It definitely.
It really evolved with Dogfish Head. I mean,
Yeah.
taking it over.
Yeah.
It's
Such a great.
revolutionary.
It is.
He should have his own throne somewhere.
I think it's cool, though, that generations later, and you are now involved in the beer business in your family. I mean, that's really neat.
Did your family being in it have influence on you and wanting to open a brewery? Not necessarily making the beer because you were making it in college, but like, you know what?
I don't think so.
No?
No, like I said, my passion came through drinking that Sam Adams IPA, and I was like, I got to make this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my first batches of beer were terrible. I think it took me a long time to get decent at it.
There's some the first ones aren't going
And
to be
I say
good.
decent at
Yeah.
it.
You're like, I could actually share this with someone now versus just
Yeah. I remember sharing it with like a couple buddies, and it was terrible. And you're like, oh yeah, it's real good.
Yeah,
real good.
I know.
Lying to my face.
I know.
Just
I know. It's like,
be honest.
I know.
You can be honest. You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
I know.
I know it's bad.
I've made a couple. I'm like, hey, can we try? I go, based on how it turns out, maybe or maybe not.
Yeah. So a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. I want to go back to the no crust for a minute.
Sure.
Is it difficult to brew with those ingredients? Like you got peanuts. I'm sure you got some kind of puree or some jelly for the jelly part. Does it clog up the works as far as the equipment goes, or is it difficult at all?
Well, we use real peanuts to get that peanut butter flavor. It's a pain in the butt, but it doesn't. I wouldn't say no.
No.
I think once we get it, we add everything and then we just recirc the tank. We kind of just put like a little recirculation loop to mix it all up.
Okay.
After that, then we drop whatever pulp or whatever is on the bottom. We drop it all out and
Okay.
let it sit for an extra week. Make sure it clears up, and that's it.
And clean the tanks and stuff isn't any worse than normal, or nah. It's all good.
Pull it. So we bag everything. We put take the peanuts, throw it into a mesh bag, sanitized mesh bag, throw it in there.
Yeah, that's fair. So you don't have that matter.
Yeah, we're just pulling the bag out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, opposed to scooping out peanut shells or whatever.
And the fruit, no, I mean, the CIP process, it pretty much takes care of.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to think of like the worst beer that we had to clean up. I don't know if we've had one that's been like overly like ugh. I think the IPAs can sometimes suck because you got all that dry hop material that just sits there. And,
yep.
Especially with the bigger dry hops.
And you're manually just scooping it out, aren't you? For the most part, you're just kind of pulling it out of there, and it's.
Yep. At least initially.
Yeah. Has your no crust evolved from now, from since when you started making it?
Yeah. So our first batch of no crust was on our 1 year anniversary. Small batch, test batch.
We were here for it.
5-gallon batch. It ended up kicking halfway through the day. It was, I think, by 2 o'clock it was done. So I think it lasted 2 hours. And that was just okay. But I learned a little bit. But then scaling from a 5-gallon batch to the 10-gallon batch for our first no crust, we had a little bit of difficulty both on the peanut flavor and the jelly flavor. Like there wasn't enough peanut that came through, and then the jelly was almost too much. So we just brewed it again in December. So we upped the peanuts, we lowered the ratio of jelly. And, I mean, every time we do something, we learn. We taste it, just like you guys, right? Like, you tasted it probably the first time, it was like, it's good, but not great. And then you might taste it again and be like, okay, we're learning. Like I said, we don't like to repeat mistakes. We taste our own beer. We keep developing the recipe, and we're not happy with anything. Bruin's never happy with anything.
Right. Sure.
Out of the 60 beers that we brewed last year, I think he liked 5 beers. If I brew something where he gives me the head nod, I'm like,
nailed it.
I did it.
Nailed it. Yeah.
But that just makes you want to do better and better each time.
Of course.
Yeah.
I will say the new, and I don't think you've had it yet.
No.
I think you've got it on tap. The new no crust with the extra peanuts. It's a perfect balance. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I heard your first one. That was my observation. I said, this is good. The peanut butter didn't come out as much. Yeah. But as you said, you learn. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. If you can't taste your own beer and say, and like critique yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Right. Like, so we do that with every beer. We critique ourselves constantly.
You have to. If you sit on your hands and think, that's good enough. I like it, and if I don't care if you guys like it or not, you won't be successful, right?
That's not. We don't have a lot of ego between Bruin and I. He keeps me on my we keep each other in check, right? If I'm like, you got to do this, and he's like, I think twice. I'm like, all right.
He's a guy that he's not a yes guy, right? He's going to tell you, and you guys,
he's definitely not.
Yeah, but you need that. You need that balance.
That's why I love it. Yeah.
Steve tells me no to everything, so I get it.
You gotta have that.
That's right. Yeah.
What's a friend if they're not going to be out?
No, that's it. That's it. So we talked about you home brewing. What is that transition from going from home brewing to, hey, family, dad, let's open a brewery? How do you get to that point?
Support, family support, money.
Yeah, that's a big one, right?
Right. But you have to know something. It wasn't. I didn't just homebrew. So there's a brewery that opened up later on at Purdue called People's Brewery, and so I did some time there, kind of cleaning kegs, learning the CIP process.
Yeah.
Cleaning tanks. Just doing that work.
Being around it. Yeah.
Did I ever? Once I moved and graduated from Purdue, did I ever get back into it? No. So I did my year and a half of that was kind of my side job hustle instead of going to a pharmacy and working like in school and being a tech. Like I did that. So I was able to learn some brewery processes from that while it's one thing to build a recipe, and it's one thing to make sure all the processes, because really I think the beer is made on the second half of brewing. And what I mean by that, once it's out of the brew kettle.
Okay.
Once it's out of the kettle, I think that's where the beer is made. So recipe development is, like I said, very small.
Yeah. But it still gets to use your creativity too. Like I know it takes a while and stuff, but you get to be creative about it. And
I think doing the processes right and always evolving and making sure. Bruno and I do this all the time. What do we do wrong? How are we going to make this better? Let's use our two heads. Let's see what we can do. Let's do some research if we have to. Let's reach out to other brewers and say, what are y'all doing for this?
Yeah.
Because people that have been around for 10, 20 years, I'm sure they've made the same mistakes we have.
They're like, oh yeah, we know that one. Yeah.
You don't have to name drop the beer community, but are there certain breweries around here that have really helped you guys out?
Yeah, I think for the most part, when we've had questions and we've reached out, we've gotten pretty good feedback. Yeah,
because it seems like a really tight community. We've heard so much about that. Yes, you all are competing against each other to a degree. Because you're in the business to make money. Yeah. But everybody also wants to lift everybody up, and I think that's fantastic.
I just want to drink good beer.
Yes.
That's all I want. So
And I'll tell you, and in this town, we know if you make good beer, they're gonna find you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Sure.
We found you guys from almost day one, and you're like, yes, we know, we understand, we get it. You're making good beer. We're gonna keep coming back.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's a good having people come back is the best compliment.
Yeah.
Right.
You're
having
obviously
people wear our shirts, our gear.
Yes.
Support us. Funny story.
Yeah.
My wife and I just went down to Key West for a wedding, and I've never been there, so we did the whole downtown thing, and we parked somewhere. We were kind of walking to the strip, and my wife saw a guy wearing a Marble Fox shirt in Key West.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. We made it all the way down to Key West. So we ran across the street. We're like, hey, I was wearing a Marble Fox shirt too at the time. So
that's cool. What was his story?
He's from Mount Juliet. He was just on a cruise or whatever.
Just down there.
Yeah, he said he loves. He buys all of our new beer all the time. And he's from the Milwaukee area, so he kind of got down with our story when he came here.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of crazy, like seeing someone wearing our logo in Key West. Like
it's probably surreal. Like you did the double take. Like that. No, that's us. That's mine.
Yeah. I've had people reach out to me from New York and be like, "Can you send me beer?"
Yeah.
I keep hearing, I'm like, New York. Like, how are we on New York's map? What's going on?
Word of mouth. That's good.
Yeah. Well, another funny story is you guys are familiar with Untapped.
Yes.
Right? So they reached out to me at one point because they wanted me to, trying to upsell me something. And he's like, funny thing, your guys' ratings are like 80%. 80% of your ratings are coming outside of a 30-mile radius of Nashville. So
wow.
Basically what he's saying is like, you're getting hit with tourism. It's like,
that's good.
Untapped.
I need that flip. Yeah.
Here's some of my on Untapped right now. Some of the beers that I've rated on Untapped with you guys.
Oh, thank you. I would like those. He said normally they're flipped. Like you have 80% local, 20%. So I think that's somehow we got to figure out how to flip those numbers. Or at least get them down to 50-50. Right?
You mentioned the tourism aspect of it.
Yeah.
He and I took the Music City Brew Hop tour a few months ago.
Yeah.
Adam, who owns it.
Yep.
And we came here. This was our last stop. That has to have helped you guys too, because that's a big thing for tourists that come in from out of town.
Yeah.
And it's
definitely
something they can do, and you guys are on one of the loops of that.
Yeah. Adam's great. It's a great business, and I love that they added us to the loop. We're thrilled to have them around town and what they provide for the beer community, for sure.
Yeah, his story was cool because I think when he was first starting out, he was like, because we had him on, and he was like, yeah, I'd go talk to these breweries, and they're like, I don't know what you're trying to sell me, but and then I realized he's not. He's just dropping people off. So it helps his business, and then it helps you guys at the same time, which is it's a cool model.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I'll take customers.
All day, every day.
You want to just pick people up and drop them off at my place? Sure.
Works for me.
Do you use anything? We talked about some of your recipes. Do you use any resources to kind of keep up with trends, or I just see what's happening in the beer world at all? Do you have any resources for that, or you just kind of just stay in touch with people, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're subscribed to a couple magazines. I've got for IPAs. Scott Janish has a great book.
Okay.
For IPAs that's helped shape some of our IPAs to a degree. Yeah, I mean, those are...
Yeah, and it's not like you have to keep up with the trends because, like you said, it was early. It's kind of cyclical and things go up and down. I mean, you're going to make stuff you like and things are going to sell and stuff, but things tend to be trendy a little bit too.
Definitely.
And yeah.
All right, like cold IPA. Like what?
Yeah, I know every time that word comes up, somebody always goes, like, what exactly is that? It's like
IPA with lager yeast.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
It's good though. It's nice and crispy. Like I like it. And actually, I was talking to I was in California in April. I was talking to a brewer there that he doesn't call it a cold IPA, but he's been using lager yeast for his West Coast IPAs since like 2015. So it's not.
Yeah, so it's
not
like
unusual,
right? So somebody's been doing it for a while. Yeah, it's
just someone claimed it as a cold IPA.
Yeah. I've heard too. Some people were like, "Yeah, we got this thing. We don't quite know what to do with it. We're just going to call or IPA or not an IPA, like a lager that went kind of wrong.
Dry hop it."
Yes.
The funny thing about the cold IPA, so a lot of breweries are using the Weihenstephaner yeast, the 3470, and they call it cold IPA, but you actually ferment the beer warm compared to what the normal yeast temperature is.
Okay.
Like typically lagers, you ferment cold, right? 50s, low 50s or whatever. Well, for a cold IPA, they actually ferment warm for that yeast. It's
almost like more of an ale? Like more of an ale temperature?
Yeah,
or?
It's on the lower end of ale temperature.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, I think we did 64 degrees for our fermentation temperature. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That they call it a cold IPA.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually I get it. It's colder than a ale, but
right. But warmer than a
but you're
taking
the yeast that you use for the cold IPA and ferment it warmer.
Yeah. So any cold IPA I've seen that's been cold, it's fine. Everything's good. I like them. They're good.
Definitely.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
I do like them.
I do too.
But I like it. I just like hops, man. I just, especially with like new varieties of hops like coming out seems like every month. So I can't get enough. They got all the new New Zealand IPA hops, and
it's a good one.
Are people just kind of creating more strains? Is that where that's coming from? And hey, we're breeding this thing with this thing and crossbreeding them and that kind of thing.
Well, the hazy IPA trend really, I think, created an enormous amount of hops like that people weren't like invested to do, but because of the hazy IPA and the transformation of when you add hops and how many hops you use, how big your dry hop is, and the flavors you get from it.
Yeah,
which I think it just started. Like, if we invest in new hop varieties that are more citrusy and fruity or tropical, or we'll make different beers, right?
Yep.
Definitely.
You mentioned your logo earlier, and it's a fox. If you look at it, say it's a fox.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the Foamy Heads podcast. They had Michelle Rumrell on, who comes here a lot, and they did it here. They were doing it here actually, and they didn't know. And she told them. It's made up of two M's. No, it's made up of an M
and an F
and two F's on the side, which makes up the fox. Because the F over there.
Well, just MF, Marble Fox.
Yeah. Oh, mem. Yeah, okay. See, now I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I didn't know when Tyler heard that. I was like, oh, I get it now. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So I was thinking M was the ears, and then the F's were kind of going the other way. But okay, I see. That's M. Yeah, okay. I get
a buddy of mine that I work with, when I told him the name, Marble Fox, he's like, he's very artistic, creative guy, and he's like, I'm thinking of something in my head. Can I draw your logo for you? I was like, yeah, let's go. And we went through. I have all the pictures like on my phone of like the original Marble Fox drawing. And that's what he was like. He's like, I want to like subliminally put MF in there somehow, and we couldn't quite get it right. He's like, I just,
It's
and
good.
we finally got it.
It's awesome.
And it's like 10% of the people figured out. It's probably like a 10%,
Yeah.
which is fine for me. Like that was like the whole point. Like,
No, it's cool. And then when you see it, now you're like, duh.
once you know it's there,
Yes. It's like, duh. Yes,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. So it's really great. It's really creative.
Yeah. So,
But I had to listen to another podcast, and I was like, oh, I never knew that.
yeah.
You want to talk about taproom events? You guys got anything coming up for taproom events and things?
I don't think we have anything this month. I think we're going to start back up in March. When the weather
Probably when the weather gets nicer and stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
We're itching for March over here.
I'll bet.
I
Yeah, oh
know.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Isn't everybody ready for spring,
I
right?
know.
Yeah. Well, that's when all the fun beer fests.
Yep,
Exactly. Everything just beer, man, just pours.
I know.
Time to get into full gear.
Speaking of which, you guys got any events 2025 like beer fest you signed up for yet, or is it still kind of too early to do
I think
that?
we're going to do the same. The East Nashville, the Root the Zoo,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and hopefully, if we keep getting our name out there, and maybe we can get some events outside of Nashville.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep. I'll keep poking around and seeing what's out there.
Yeah, we try to keep on our website. We try to keep up with all the events and kind of post them, or all the Nashville or Nashville area. And it's some you don't hear about until maybe a couple of months, and then like East Nashville Beer Fest comes out like November. They tell you when the date is. And It's like, okay, now I know. That was great.
Mark your calendar.
Yeah, because usually it's the first one.
What's the one at the Sound Stadium? Same thing. I think they like push that out in like early summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, like, constantly
Yep.
in the face. So.
We talked to LeBron the other night from Common John, and he's dialing. His is in the September sometime.
Yeah.
And he's got to dial. It's going to be in September. He's dialing in the dates already. Like those will be out
You have
soon.
to.
Yeah,
So
you
people
do.
know.
You gotta
You
prepare.
plan.
Yeah.
If you don't
Yes.
plan, other things come up.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
So
I got one last thing. Have you guys got any? And the only reason I'm asking this is because we didn't ask it the other night to LeBron. You guys, I know you're a year and a half old, 2 years. Any thoughts of expansion yet? Is that even? Has it been a consideration at all?
Will you come to where I live in Rutherford County? Maybe like Murfreesboro, Smyrna. Yeah, I'm just twisting your arm. You don't have to say it.
yeah. I think it's always being talked about. I don't think we have plans in year 2, but we talk about it. We kind of gauge our next steps for Nashville, probably, whether it's a suburb or I don't know. It kind of everything has to line up, right? Like, will rent prices fall? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, probably not. But,
That's it, right?
like that's a big factor, I think, for everybody. Got to fight rent.
Right.
That's expensive.
Yep. Can we make enough beer for 2 locations?
Exactly,
That's a whole other thing, right? It's
So, I mean, on the next spot, we would probably take a model of food, do like a food / almost like a restaurant.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what we've talked about most. Or some way, even here, I think next steps we're talking to other vendors trying to get a kitchen put in here, so we can,
okay. Oh, that'd be cool.
we can have some sort of either whether it's burgers or pizza or something to kind of keep. I think that's the way the brewery market is going. I think you got to have cocktails, you got to have food, you got to have all this.
You want to get them in here and you want to keep them here.
Yeah.
And you want, we've mentioned this many times on our episodes. That there's always a group of friends, right? And I've got some that don't necessarily like beer, but if you have an offering for them, whether it's a seltzer or a cider or hell, even wine or a cocktail or something, like, oh, yeah, we can all go now and we can all hang out and kind
It's
of.
just the evolution of it all.
Yeah. That's fine. We just got to roll with the punches, and thankfully for us, we're growing. From year 1 to year 2.
Yeah.
Our tap room has steadily been getting busier. Month over month.
Yeah.
It's been growing. January last year to January this year. December last year, December this year. It's been so. Hopefully, we keep growing
that trend. Yep.
Yeah. If we
That's
keep
great.
growing that way, our distribution keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like that distribution is going to be real helpful if you head it this way.
I think so. With distro, you guys probably know this. Just margins are super thin, so you got to brew a lot to make it profitable.
Sure.
At least worth doing.
Yeah.
I think. So.
But you're in a good part of town too. You talked about it earlier, kind of the tourists and stuff, because you're close to tourists. But we come. I mean, it's not downtown for When you live here, you don't necessarily go downtown a lot per se. But you're in a spot where we don't have to consider that. But you're close enough where the people that are down there can come up here. Yeah,
it's hit or miss. I think it's a spot where it's far enough away from Broadway. It keeps maybe like Broadway people there.
Yeah.
But close enough downtown where maybe like people don't want to drive in because they don't, they don't know where to park. And we got small parking here that's reimbursed, but probably not enough to fill the taproom up. So.
But it's a cool thing too. You guys even offer you can store luggage here. It's like people come in, you just got a little room. I guess people come in. Hey, we just landed. We want to come hang out.
Yeah. That helps. It lets people know like we're here. And a lot of times they grab a beer or whatever. And 2 for 1.
Right. Why not? I would.
Why not?
Absolutely.
Well, cool, man. You got anything else?
The only thing I'm going to say is to wrap this up, because I think it sounds like we are. Anybody that's listening out there, come to Marble Fox Brewing. You're going to love it. If you've not been, get here, whether you live in Nashville or if you live out of state, because we know there are people from other parts of the country that come in here as well.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. And if you've been to Marble Fox, dang it, get back here, because the beer is great. Definitely. And this man in front of us, John, he is brewing the beer, and he's doing it very well.
We're determined to, keep getting better and better.
Yeah. All right. Well, everything's great, man. We love it. Shane, come here. You can say goodbye. We're leaving. We're signing off. So you might as well.
Shane.
You might as well say goodbye. I don't have that on anymore.
Just speak in the microphone, Shane.
So we're good.
Say goodnight, Shane.
Well, I do want to say goodnight, but I also want to say that there is only 9 minutes left in the Bills Kansas City game.
What?
And playing right now.
Is that an old game?
Is it an old game?
That's an old game, bro.
Is it an old game?
Yeah, that's a
I think it's an old game.
Yeah.
Okay, well then
We're leaving that in, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's cool. That's cool.
Editing.
That's
We'll
cool.
leave this in.
Because if it's not an old game, then you're scaring me.
You're in trouble, man.
Because I'll tell you this. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm from Buffalo, and there is going to be a Kansas City Buffalo game.
So they're going to beat the Ravens this week. Is what you're saying?
That's what I'm hoping for. Now, if the Super Bowl turns out the way that I think, and it's the Bills against the Lions, who are you voting for?
I don't know. I'm okay with either team.
Can you do me a favor?
I'll root for the Bills for you.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
All right. That's all I want.
You brought me a barrel of 1792.
You brought me an opportunity to have a beer in that barrel.
Yeah.
And the best part about it, on top of that opportunity, is you're going to put my logo on the bottle. Because
he was pretty excited about that.
Officially, I've done 9 beers with breweries in Nashville. You're the first brewery to put my logo on the bottle.
All right.
So,
Shane Rogers, ladies
there
and
you
gentlemen.
go. Hey, it's not my podcast. It's this guy's. I just want to make sure he gets the credit when credit is due.
That's awesome.
I'm heading over to Breek. I'm getting a milk pour. I told your dad that you should get a side pour so that you guys can do milk pours. Do those Czech lagers and those Italian pilsners and all those things.
Oh, like that slow pour thing? Yeah. Those are cool.
All right.
Shane, good to see you, buddy.
Thank you. On that note, guys.
John, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for having us. Thanks for your time. Absolutely, man.
It was great.
Come back anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Matter of fact, we're going to live here in the tap room from here on out, so we'll just be here anytime you want to talk.
That's fine.
Love it. Love it.
See you around.
Brewery Underground Podcast on the road from Marble Fox Brewing. See you later, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.